Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
You'll hear that creaking door ahead here in a few minutes as we have an episode of Inner-sanctum-mysteries from 77 years ago, Tuesday, September 4th, 1945, The Murder Prophet, starring Wendy Barrie. And we thank you for joining us on this Sunday. This is the 4th day of September, 247th day of the year, 118 days remaining. Happy birthday to Dr. Austin Watson. You may not know Dr. Watson, or at least you may not know him by that name. We'll tell you in a bit. City of Los Angeles, founded by Spanish settlers in 1781. George Eastman patented his roll film camera and registered the Kodak trademark in 1888. Japan declared neutrality in European war in 1939. The Beetle Bailey comic strip began on this date in 1950. 9 black students attempted to enter Little Rock Central High School on this date in 1957, but were blocked by the National Guard. Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus had summoned the federal troops. Ford Motor Company introduced the Edsel on this date in 1957.
Driving the 1958 Edsel is as easy as flicking a light switch. For Edsel's exclusive new TeleTouch drive shifts electrically at a touch. It's a new idea that puts shifting where it belongs, so you can keep both hands safely at the wheel. And look, you can shift and turn the wheel at the same time, for the control remains stationary, which makes Edsel the world's easiest car to handle. On the Edsel's instrument panel, you'll find many more new ideas, like this speedometer that glows red when you exceed the safe maximum speed you set it for. This one simple dial that sets heat, ventilation, and air conditioning at a twist of the wrist. Even a remote trunk release that electrically opens the luggage compartment. And under that long, straight Edsel hood, you'll find the newest V8 engines in the world.
Technological innovations aside, after it was unveiled to the public, Edsel was considered to be unattractive, overpriced, and overhyped. The Edsel never gained popularity with contemporary American car buyers and sold poorly. Ford Motor lost $250 million on the Edsel's development, manufacturing, and marketing. In fact, to this day, the very name Edsel remains a popular symbol for commercial failure. Lawrence Welk Show aired its last show on ABC on this date in 1971 before moving to syndication, which will last until 1982, and it still continues occasionally on public broadcasting. U.S. swimmer Mark Spitz won a record 7th gold medal at the Munich Summer Olympics on this date in 1972. On that same date in 1972, The Price is Right returned to television as the new Price is Right on CBS, hosted by Bob Barker.
A fortune in fabulous prizes may go to these people today if they know when the price is right. Sandy Flournoy, stand up. Paul Levine, stand up. Connie Gunnell, stand up. Myra Carter, stand up. And all 4 of you, come on down. You're the first contestants on the new Price is Right. And now, here's the star of the new Price is Right, Bob Barker.
Thank you
so much. Welcome to the new Price is Right. And let me assure you, fans of the old Price is Right, that this is your favorite game, still based on the pricing of merchandise, with wonderful awards for smart shoppers. We call it the new Price is Right because we have some exciting new games that you will enjoy right there at home with our studio audience, and we're going to get that first game going right now. Here's the first item up for bids on the new Price is Right.
It's a fur coat. A luscious natural brown muskrat coat with genuine white leather trim from the exclusive fur salons of Harry Brown, Beverly Hills, and Las Vegas. This beautiful coat can be yours if the price is right.
Can I be annoyed for a moment by revisionist history? Yes, this is the 50th anniversary of the new Price is Right. But what people forget is the Price is Right goes back to 1956. Bill Cullen hosted the show for the first, how many years? To 1965. And it was a very highly rated show. And they made a few tweaks along the way, but the show was fun. And the Price is Right is over 50 years old. In fact, the Price is Right is 66 years old. So don't go there, okay? Let's see, that wasn't the only show that started on that date. The Joker's Wild and Gambit also premiered on CBS. Those have by and large been forgotten. In 1995, WCW's Monday Nitro premiered. It began the Monday Night Wrestling Wars between World Wrestling Entertainment, spearheaded by Vince McMahon, and World Championship Wrestling, which was a favorite of Ted Turner. Now, John Walker Lind, the American Taliban, received a 20-year sentence on this date in 2002. Governments of North Korea conducted its fifth and reportedly biggest nuclear test on this date in 2016. World leaders condemned the act. South Korea was even stronger. They called it maniacal recklessness. Passing away on this date in history, actress Irene Dunne. You remember her from Bright Star, which she starred with Fred McMurray on the radio. Also, saxophonist Charlie Barnett, country singer Dottie West, from Fantasy Island, Hervey Villechaize, De Plain, Steve Irwin, also Joan Rivers, and from I Dream of Jeannie and Newhart, Bill Daly, all passing away on this date in history. Nigel Bruce, Dr. Watson in the many of the Sherlock Holmes radio shows, born on this date in history, as was Henry Ford, Dick York, the original Darren Stevens on Bewitched, Thomas Eagleton, politician from Missouri, and radio broadcaster Paul Harvey.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer.
An amazing monologist, Paul Harvey, born on this date in history, 104 years ago, actually. Singer, dancer, actress Mitzi Gaynor, 91 today. Dr. Drew, 64 today. Damon Wayans, 62. From Scrubs and Yes Dear, Phil Lewis is 55. Mr. Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, also in Game of Thrones. Noah Taylor, 53. Wrestling fans know her as Awesome Kong or Karma. And people on, Netflix? Knew her as Tammy the Welfare Queen Dawson in Netflix's Glow. Kia Stevens, 45. She is retired from the wrestling ring. From American Beauty and Pete's Dragon, the 2016 version, Wes Bentley, 44. Veronica Mars's Max Greenfield, 43. Beyonce, 41 today. Haley Reinhart, singer-songwriter, 32. Country singer-songwriter Hunter Hayes is 31. And Dr. Austin Watson. You may not know the name. Wrestling fans know him as either Austin Creed or Xavier Woods. Yes, he has a Ph.D. in educational psychology. Xavier Woods, 36 years old today. Though some of the people celebrating the 4th day of September as their birthday, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
From 77 years ago, September 4th, 1945, Inner Sanctum Mysteries, on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, back 77 years, September 4th, 1945, Inner Sanctum Mysteries.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup present Inner Sanctum Mysteries, starring Wendy Barrie. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host to welcome you through the squeaking door into a gay little world of homicidal maniacs, vampires, ghosts, werewolves, and assorted forms of sudden and gory death. Friends, if you ever walk through a cemetery at midnight and see a girl whose hair is on fire, who's carrying her head under her arm, you know what to tell her, don't you? Just say, keep a cool head on your shoulders, Toots. And run like crazy. And now, friends, get ready to try a new kind of Inner Sanctum story. It's called The Murder Prophet. And it's an original radio play by Milton Lewis, who copied it from a tombstone. Yes, and our star tonight is that glamorous Hollywood movie star, Wendy Barrie, who plays the role of Claudia Dale. All right? Clear the floor and give your flesh room to creep. Ready? Then let's hear Claudia tell us the story in her own words.
At exactly midnight, I saw him for the first time. My headlights picked him up when he hailed me along a lonely stretch of road near my home. I wouldn't have stopped, but the storm was so fierce, I felt sorry for him. I drew up to the side of the road.
Thank you.
Going far?
No, not far.
Where to?
I'll let you know.
Oh, what's that?
Where?
There on the side.
Tombstone.
Oh, there's a cemetery where I picked you up.
Yes, Birch Lawn.
Cigarette?
No, thank you. I don't smoke.
He said nothing for a few minutes. In the reflection of the dashboard light, I saw his face for the first time. Sunken eyes, hollow cheeks, mouth set in a queer grin, a skull, barely covered with a thin layer of milk-white flesh. With a start, I realized he was staring at me.
I've seen you before.
Oh, I don't think we've met.
No, I know you.
Are you sure?
Yes. I would never forget someone so beautiful.
Oh, really?
You're Claudia Dale.
Why, yes.
You're married to Howard Dale.
That's right. But I don't seem to place you.
No, you wouldn't. I know quite a lot about you.
Do you really?
Your first husband was Willard Banks.
How did you know that?
He died 8 years ago, a suicide.
Who are you?
You don't know me. Be careful, you're speeding.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
You're trembling.
How do you know so much about me?
I just know.
Oh, really? I suppose you have second sight or some such rubbish.
It is not rubbish.
Then tell me where I'm coming from.
Pittsfield.
You guessed.
You went there to visit a sick friend, Martha Wollstone.
But you couldn't guess that.
You're going too fast. You're losing control.
No, I'm not. I'm quite all right. I can go fast if I choose to. I shall go as fast as I wish.
Would you care to know more of yourself?
No. No, I do not find your little trick particularly amusing. Besides, What else do you think you can tell me about myself?
Your future.
Oh, nonsense.
Your husband is dead.
Howard?
Murdered.
Oh, you're lying.
You'll find his body on the floor near the piano of your living room when you get home. There are 2 bullets in his head.
Get out of here. Get out of this car. Get out. You hear me? Get out.
Very well. It happens that this is where I wish to go. Good night, and thank you, Mrs. Dale.
He vanished into the shadows on the side of the road. And then I noticed something white and shining queerly in the spot where he disappeared. I looked closely. It was another tombstone in another cemetery. I raced madly for home, fighting the hysteria that seized me. The nightlight was burning in the living room. It couldn't be true. Howard would take me in his arms and kiss me when I stepped into the house. I rang the bell. No answer. Somehow I managed to get the key in the lock. I ran into the living room. Howard!
Don't move.
Oh, who is it?
Right behind you. I've got a gun.
Oh, a gun.
You're whipping the body.
Who are you?
Turn around.
Oh, you murdered him.
Keep quiet.
Oh, don't come near me.
Sit down.
Don't touch me.
I said sit down.
Please. Oh.
Sorry I had to slap you. You're losing control. You don't have to scream for the police. Here's my badge.
You?
Detective Sergeant Quinn. Homicide.
Oh, well, I thought you were...
Yes, I know. Drink this.
Thanks.
Feel better?
Yeah, much.
Who is he?
My husband.
Sure?
Positive. When was he killed?
About 20 hours ago. 4 yesterday morning.
How do you know?
One of the bullets went wild. Hit that clock on the mantel. Where were you yesterday morning?
Pittsfield. I stayed with a sick friend, Martha Wollstone.
Here, look at these things. I took them out of his pocket. They all his?
Yes. Where's the snake ring?
There were no rings.
But he had one. It was quite valuable. He was never without it. I gave it to him.
All right, now look. Did he wear it on the third finger of his left hand?
Yes.
There's a mark, but no ring.
When did you come here?
I drove in behind you. You left the front door open.
I think I know who killed him.
Who?
A man I met on the road coming here. He knew my husband had been murdered.
You did, huh?
He even said his body would be near the piano.
When did you see this guy?
Oh, 10, 20 minutes ago. Picked him up on the road.
Where?
Birch Lawn Cemetery.
Where'd you drop him?
At another cemetery near here. He seemed to walk behind one of the tombstones. Oh, I know it sounds mad, but it happened just as I said.
What's his name?
I don't know, but he looked like a human cadaver. Like a man who's dead and... Oh, you don't believe me.
Why'd you kill your husband?
What? What are you saying?
You heard me.
Well, I told you I was in Pittsfield.
Why'd you go there?
Martha was ill.
Were you there at 4 yesterday morning?
Well, of course.
Don't lie.
Stop shouting at me. I told you who killed him. What are you trying to do to me? Isn't it enough to come home and find Howard like that without you trying to... Oh, in heaven's name, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Not a scotch, lady?
No, thanks. Here, keep the change. I'm leaving.
Sit down, Mrs. Dale. Don't go in.
You?
Yes. Won't you please sit down?
Yes.
Didn't expect to find you here.
Nor I you.
Are they making it difficult?
It's a nightmare.
You told them about me?
Yes.
You shouldn't have. They wouldn't understand.
Did you kill him?
Would you care for another drink, Mrs. Dale?
No. Who are you?
I'll tell you later.
Why'd you come here?
To talk to you. I knew I'd find you here.
Yes, you knew.
You're not so skeptical now.
No. What did you want to tell me?
That you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen, and that I love you. I've loved you since I first saw you 7 years ago, when you came here to live with your husband.
Is that why you...
Why I killed him? Is that what you meant to say?
Yes.
I am not an ordinary man, Mrs. Dale, but I'm not a fool. Now, on this card, you'll find my name, address, and telephone.
Do you really believe I'd phone you?
Yes. There will come a time when you shall want love. Good night, Mrs. Dale.
Good night. Hello? Operator, get me police headquarters and hurry, please.
Yes?
That's him, Detective Quinn. That's Garth Dragman.
Thank you, Mrs. Dale. Do you mind coming down to headquarters, Mr. Dragman?
Not at all. Did she tell you that I murdered her husband?
Yes.
I thought she would. I'm not angry, Mrs. Dale, and what I told you earlier this evening still goes. I'll come along right now, Mr. Quinn.
September 4th, 1945. Inner Sanctum Mysteries on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 77 years ago today comes up next.
Veterinary telemedicine is booming. Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Teller, president of the American Veterinary Medical Association, and I know firsthand that telehealth is a valuable tool to help provide our precious pets with the health care they need and deserve. Here are some situations where telemedicine may be an option for you and your pet. If the veterinarian has seen your pet in person in the past. If you're not sure you need to schedule an in-person visit. If your pet had surgery and needs post-operative follow-up. For skin diseases and rash rechecks. When your veterinarian needs to monitor your pet's chronic problems such as diabetes or allergies. If there are behavioral issues or training challenges. Or for hospice care. It's always good to have your session in a quiet place with good lighting. If you're not sure if you should set up a telehealth session, call your veterinarian and they'll let you know. To learn more, check out avma.org/telehealth. avma.org/telehealth.
Thanks for joining us this Sunday for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of Inner Sanctum Mysteries from Tuesday, September 4th, 1945, in the newspapers of that Sunday 77 years ago. These were some of the headlines. Tokyo was brought within 31 hours, 25 minutes of the nation's capital yesterday when a C-54 Skymaster landed at the national airport after a two-stop flight from Atsuga Airdrome over the top of the world. The plane believed to have been the first, taking the northern and most direct route between Japan and the U.S., which is expected to become the most popular in commercial post-war aviation. Prime Minister Clement Attlee last night blamed Japan for starting the World War by invading Manchuria in 1931 and cautioned that victory will be empty and short-lived if the conquering nations forget the heavy responsibility that our victim entails. In a broadcast speech on the 6th anniversary of Britain's entry into the Second World War, Attlee declared it was the Japanese attack in Manchuria which started the train of events which culminated in the World War. Failure to deal with this first breach of the peace destroyed the authority of the League of Nations. America's military grip on the heart of Japan further tightened today as additional troops of the East Army swarmed ashore. The forces of occupation were ready on word from General MacArthur to sweep into Tokyo and take over Nippon's bomb-shattered capital. Meanwhile, Joseph C. Grew, former ambassador to Japan, declared yesterday he was exceedingly happy that his pleas for safeguard of Emperor Hirohito of Japan were heeded by Allied leaders. Grew, for 10 years the U.S. emissary to Japan and recently resigned as Undersecretary of the State Department, declared that only Hirohito could have issued the imperial rescript, which Japanese militarists obeyed in accepting surrender to the United Nations. There were fewer banking difficulties during the war than at any time in the nation's history, and since May of 1944, no insured bank has been placed in receivership, nor has any depositor experienced a loss from the closing of an insured bank. Those facts disclosed last night by Chairman Leo T. Crowley of the Board of Directors of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. The semi-annual fiscal statement of the FDIC also showed that during the 6 months ending July 30th, 1945, only one bank required money from the corporation to aid in its merger with another bank. Well, having lost her route between Boston and Lynn, Miss Alice Lairdsie of Detroit asked for the help of a young man. The stranger got in the car, explaining he could direct her better that way. After riding a few miles, he put her on the right road, thanked her graciously, and left. Later, wondering why he should have thanked her, Miss Lairdsie looked for her pocketbook, and it was missing. It had $60 inside it. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Tuesday, September 4th, 1945, on your radio 77 years ago today, Inner Sanctum Mystery, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
I didn't sleep a wink that night. Twice I got out of bed and drove to police headquarters. The lights were blazing in Quinn's office. I went in the third time. I couldn't bear waiting.
Oh, Miss Dale.
Well?
Glad you stopped by. I checked everything Dragman said. Seemed he was in the same bar and grill where you met him tonight when your husband was killed.
You believed him?
Naturally. Bartender and several regular customers backed up a story. Seems they all left together after the place was closed to play poker.
Well, what about the things he said to me in the car? How could he know about the murder before you or I?
That I don't know. Perhaps he does have second sight. Odd-looking fellow, isn't he? But you can't arrest a man for murder because of that.
He's criminally insane, I tell you. I know he is.
My dear Mrs. Dale.
Oh. What's the use? I loved Howard. I loved him to the point of insanity. Otherwise, there was no accounting for the things I did when I left police headquarters. I was determined to find the man who murdered my husband. It was towards dawn when I made up my mind what to do. I went to Garth Dragman's home. I was about to ring the doorbell when...
Don't ring, Mrs. Dale. The door is open. Come in.
You were expecting me?
Yes, I was expecting you. Do you still think that I killed him?
I don't know what to think anymore.
Do you want me to find the person who murdered him?
Yes, more than anything in the whole world.
See, I have strange gifts, Mrs. Dale. And I do believe I understand the mind of a criminal. That mad impulse to crime, that strange, twisted desire to take a living being, a creature of arrogance and power, and make it a corroding, lifeless mass of flesh fit for worms.
Oh.
You're shocked? Crime is a shocking, evil thing. And only a man with the brain of a genius can succeed at it. And only a man with a greater brain can trap a successful criminal. I'll find your murderer for you, Mrs. Dale. On one condition.
What's that?
That you marry me.
I felt my body turn to ice. I knew I was talking to a madman. I was sure I was talking to the man who'd murdered my husband.
Oh, shucks. It's not so hard to predict a murder. I can do it. It's easy. I predict that there'll be at least one murder every week on Inner Sanctum.
Good gracious, yes. You might say it's worth a character's life to appear on this program.
Oh, don't feel sorry for them, Mary. Don't forget they can always make a comeback as a ghost on next week's show.
Broadcast at 9 p.m., September 4th, 1945, 77 years ago, Inner Sanctum Mysteries. The conclusion next on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll start off Monday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of Tailspin Tommy, a very short-run radio series It ran in parallel with an Air Adventure strip. The comic strip ran from 1928 to 1942. There was also a 12-episode 1934 movie serial. We have very little information on this show, but we can tell you that this was the first episode of the series that ran 81 years ago, September 5th, 1941. Gang flies over a downed airplane. Upon investigating, it appears to be tied into the theft of a tungsten mine. That's on Monday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now the conclusion of Inner Sanctum Mysteries, 77 years ago, September 4th, 1945.
Let's get back to the other world now. The world of creeping, crawling horrors. I'll bet you think that Garth Dragman can't really foretell murders. Or do you think that Claudia doesn't have the courage to trap this homicidal Romeo? Or is he the killer? Yeah. We'll let our star, Wendy Barrie, in the role of Claudia, tell you. Go ahead, Claudia. Shock him into the shakes.
2 weeks later, I married Garth Dragman. He was the strangest man I ever knew. He would disappear for days at a time, and then suddenly turn up without warning. He had all the money he wanted, yet I never knew where it came from. There was a closet in his room which was always kept locked and bolted. I knew from the way he acted about it that the closet contained the answer to all the things I wanted to know about him. One night while he was away, I obtained tools and tried to force the lock.
Good evening, Claudia.
Oh, Garth.
You didn't expect me back, did you?
No,
I knew you'd try to open that closet someday.
Well, why do you keep it locked?
So that no one but myself shall know what's in there.
Not even I?
You in particular.
But Garth,
You'll not attempt to open it again, will you, Claudia?
Oh.
Forgive me for striking you. I'm not quite myself tonight. I sometimes do things I regret when these moods come upon me.
He sat down. He seemed terribly exhausted, completely spent. But there was a strange, wild light in his eyes. He seemed like a man intoxicated with some strange drug that few men knew the taste of.
You do forgive me, don't you, Claudia?
Yes, of course.
See, it's something that few people know, Claudia, but a person who has extraordinary powers carries an extraordinary burden.
You mean your gift of prophecy?
Yes, I didn't want to mention it. It seems to upset you so.
It doesn't frighten me any longer.
Did you read in the newspaper about a woman's body being found in the river? She'd been murdered, garroted.
Yes, it was in this evening's paper. They don't know who she is.
I can tell you who she is. Josephine Ford. The stupid girl, Claudia. I could have told you that she'd been murdered 3 days ago.
How do you know these things?
Because I see them. A sort of vision. Now I'm seeing another vision. It's a house, 346 Harbor Street. Near the waterfront, a young woman lies in bed reading. She's very attractive. In an hour, she'll be dead. When the police come, they'll find her body decapitated. The criminal did this to destroy her identity.
But who is the criminal?
What difference does it make? He'll never be caught.
Garth, while you were gone, Martha Wallstone telephoned. She's ill again.
Oh.
She asked me to come up immediately.
Why didn't you go?
I was waiting for you to get home before I left.
You want to leave immediately?
If you don't mind. It's really an emergency.
You may go, Claudia. I shall go to sleep. I'm extremely tired.
It took only a few minutes to get to the waterfront. I found the house at 346 Harbor Street. I went in. The lamp in the bedroom was burning. I looked at the bed. I fainted.
Hey, Mrs. Dale. Think you can sit up now?
Detective Quinn.
Yes. Hardly expected to find you here.
I came because Garth Dragman predicted this would happen.
Mrs. Dale.
You still don't believe me?
You're a strange woman, all right. You accused this man of killing your husband, and then you married him. I suppose you're going to accuse him of this murder, too.
Yes, this and heaven only knows how many others.
Mrs. Dale, do you realize that you haven't got a single piece of evidence to back up your contention?
I'll get the evidence tonight. Will you let me have a gun?
No.
Will you be near my house? I'll need protection.
No, after all.
What must I do to convince you what he is? I've risked my own life. I'm willing to risk it again. He's a monster. Are you going to wait until he murders me before you believe what I say?
All right. I'll give it a try. I'll come back to your house with you. If you want me for an emergency, smash the window pane.
We drove back together. I dropped Detective Quinn on the corner. The house seemed deserted when I came in, but I wasn't taking any chances. I went to the kitchen, got a knife, hid it in the folds of the long-sleeved gown I was wearing. I went into Garth's room. He wasn't there, but the closet door was open. What I saw in there nearly made me ill. Clothes. Garth's clothes. Some of them soaked in blood. I forced myself to examine them. Then I found something that made my heart beat faster. A little jewelry case.
I'll take that, Claudia.
Oh, Garth.
Give me that jewelry case,
Oh, no.
please.
No, don't take it.
Thank you.
Garth.
Get away from that window, Claudia. Go on.
Oh, don't shoot, Garth.
You were so anxious to see what's in that closet. Well, now you have. And perhaps you'd like to see the latest addition to my collection. It's in this box.
That box?
Yes, Claudia. A hat box.
Garth!
Sit down, Claudia.
What are you going to do?
Tell you who killed your husband.
You?
No. You.
You're insane.
I've written out a confession for you to sign.
What'll happen if I don't sign it?
Well, I credited you with more imagination. Would you like to hear it?
Yes. Yes, read it, please.
Sit over here, away from that window.
Yes.
I, Claudia Dale, murdered my first husband, Willard Banks, for his insurance by administering poison.
My first husband?
Yes, Claudia. See, I mean to make this document strong enough to send you to your death if I wish. I've got all the details here, just how you murdered your first husband, how you killed your second. Shall I go on?
No. You know it's all a lie.
Will you sign it?
Of course not. Just what is your game anyway? If you want to kill me, why don't you shoot? You've been very successful before. There's no reason you shouldn't succeed again. Go on, shoot.
You put me in a very difficult position, Claudia. You see, you have found out certain things about me. Things that could cost me my life. I will not tell you again to get away from that window, Claudia. I should prefer to see you live because I love you. But I shouldn't hesitate to murder you.
You love me?
Yes.
You haven't taken me in your arms once since I know you.
The right time had not arrived.
What do you consider the right time?
When I feel that you understand me. When I feel that you, who murdered two men, understand the deep and strange cravings and desires that race in my blood.
You really believe I'm a murderess?
Of course. That's why I love you.
Then the time is now.
The time?
To take me in your arms.
Claudia.
He still held the gun. He wasn't more than 2 inches from me. I turned my lips up to him. I twisted my body to get out of the range of his revolver. When I felt his lips touch mine, I slowly let the knife slip into my hand. Slowly, caressingly, I drew my hand up towards his neck. Then I plunged the blade in.
Claudia!
Detective Quinn, hurry!
I'm coming. What happened?
I killed him. And here's the proof that he murdered my husband. I found it in the jewelry case he had in his pocket. It's the snake ring that was missing from my husband's body. Now do you believe me? That's the whole story. I realize that you, as the district attorney, must know all the facts. There they are.
Thank you. There are a few points in the story that interest me particularly. First, a confession that he asked you to sign.
What about it?
The confession says that you went out in Pittsfield at 4 a.m. when your husband was killed. You gave your friend Martha Wallstone a sleeping pill, drove her down here, shot your husband, drove back to Pittsfield, turned Miss Wallstone's bedside clock to 4:15 and wakened her. And you gave her the medicine. She thought it was 4:15 and went back to sleep.
Garth was very clever at things like that. He had extraordinary brilliance of the insane.
And just one question. Was that the way you murdered Howard Dale?
I? Oh, but Garth murdered him. The ring proves it.
You never had the ring. You put it in the jewelry box.
I can't believe what you say. Garth was a homicidal maniac. He predicted the death of the people he murdered.
My dear woman, don't you know yet?
Know what?
Garth Dragman was a detective working out of my office. That's how he knew about those deaths. He was put on the case because we suspected you of murdering your first husband as well as your second.
A detective?
Yes. And you're going to die for killing him. It's extremely daring and clever of you to murder him. But you never would have gotten away with it if he hadn't kissed you. He kissed you because he fell in love with you. That poor fool.
Well, friends, that just goes to prove that you should never pick up hitchhikers who come out of cemeteries at midnight. And I bet you've guessed the moral for our story. It's taken from a famous quotation that Harry the Hangman uttered during a nightmare. Never steal the rings of people you murder, on account of that's robbery. And now here's a cheerful little thought. You can let a man murder you once, but you'd have to be a stiff to let him do it again. Oh, by the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is Puzzle for Wantons by Patrick Quentin. Yes, and next week's Inner Sanctum story, directed by Hyman Brown and brought to you by Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup. Next week's story is about a woman with canary yellow eyes, murderous eyes. Everyone she looks at, she wants to kill. And you know what? She keeps a harpoon in her house. Well, well, you never know what's going to harpoon next. And now I'm afraid it's time to close the squeaking door. So, good night. Pleasant dreams.
From 77 years ago, September 4th, 1945, Inner Sanctum Mysteries on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Please thank this station, support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. Now, if you miss a day of our show, you don't have to miss the show. They're all available on demand at my webpage, classicradio.stream. That is classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand. You can find a list of places where our shows are available for download, or they have apps where you can download and listen on your phone. You can also learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links. You can contact me directly, and you can also buy me a coffee. The Buy Me a Coffee link allows you to help us acquire new collections of great old classic radio theater programs. That's at classicradio.stream. Classicradio.stream. Have a great week ahead. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.